The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, good afternoon and possibly good morning to everybody joining us here. We're going to go ahead and get started here at the top of the hour. It looks like some people are still logging in, but again, we're going to get started here. I don't think that this is going to take the full 30 minutes that we have allocated here, but at the end, we're going to leave this open for questions. So submit your questions along the way, and we can address those at the end. This presentation is going to be part PowerPoint, and then we're going to actually demo the pallet tracking for you guys. All right, so let's get going here. So my name is Steve Showalter. I'm a partner, and I head up our sales and marketing here at ScanForce. What we're going to cover today is our license plating / pallet tracking solution. We're going to go over a quick introduction of ScanForce, just for those of you that might not be familiar with us. We're going to go over what this solution actually is. We're going to then discuss the compatible ScanForce solutions that this plays into, if you will. Talk about why somebody would use this. What are the advantages and pain points that this solves for companies that want to use this? And as I mentioned, we'll do a demo and end with some question and answer. So for those of you that don't know us, maybe haven't attended one of our webinars, first of all, shame on you. We have a lot of great content out there. I'm kidding. But I do want to cover a little bit of who we are, what we are, for those of you that may not be familiar with us. Bottom line, what all of this information on this slide leads to is that we write solutions that run on mobile devices that deal with inventory control, from WMS solutions handling items on an inbound, outbound side of things, you know, receiving items in, be it from overseas and on containers or just general purchase orders you're receiving in, to shipping orders out, complex and detailed directed pickings, wave pickings, grouping orders together, things like that. But also on the manufacturing side of it, automating transactions related to the manufacturing solutions within your Sage 100 system, like bill of materials and production management. So we've been around for a while. That's the history there. We didn't just start doing this yesterday. We have a ton of installs out there. One of the things that we've done is not only develop solutions that improve processes and relate to inventory, but on the mobile side, we are hands down the experts on this, bringing programs to mobile devices, making them easy to navigate and seamlessly integrate with your ERP system. One of the bullet points down there talks about solutions working connected and disconnected. That's something we're very good at. Our solutions are as real-time as your wireless environment allows you to be, which sometimes could have been a challenge once upon a time in the Sage 100 world, given the fact it isn't a real-time solution. It's batch-based entry. But we've overcome that. We have auto posting and things of that nature, or reading data real-time from the devices as well. And again, we've been around for a while. We have some notable customers: Penske Trucks, FedEx, Whirlpool, MTV, and so on. Now, from the aspect of what solutions do we offer, I mentioned a couple of them earlier. WMS solutions, we have 3 flavors or versions of that. Going across there, we have mobile sales, so creating orders, invoices, quotes, credit memos out in the field, or even at a counter sales. You can print or email copies of those orders, doing some credit card processing, and even capturing signatures with that. Again, all seamlessly writing back to your Sage 100 system. Label printing is another aspect of what we offer. This day and age, a lot of things are barcoded, but maybe they aren't barcoded the way you want them to be, meaning you might want to have your labels look a certain way, and we can do that. And that ties into our receiving programs, manufacturing. And on the outbound side, if you have customers that demand a specific type of label go on your products, we handle that as well. You can also do that printing directly from Sage if necessary. And then rounding this out here, manufacturing. Again, I referenced this earlier, but we do bill of materials automation, so you can actually capture your production entry right from a mobile device. You can do that by back flushing those components out, or we even allow you to do things like prompt for the components and even stage components to be used for production. We have a make-to-order solution, creating work tickets within production management directly from a sales order entry screen. Production management automation, which just handles the automation of the transactions related to production management. And we are still supporting legacy work order customers. So this is a slide that I show in all of our webinars. I think it's important. It really is 3 aspects of what makes our company and our solution different than any other solution out there. Our solutions run quickly on the mobile device. This is referring to a 1,000,000 record challenge we did. There's information out there about that if you want to look it up. But bottom line is we loaded 1,000,000 records in, and it was less than 3/100ths of a second that the device itself returns that rate of, hey, is this an actual valid scan or not? We've actually seen other solutions in the market that can take 10 to 20 seconds to bring that back. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're using a solution out in the shop floor or warehouse floor, that can feel like an eternity. I referenced this earlier also, intuitive programs. You never want to have a solution out there where people, again, on the shop floor in the warehouse are looking at a device saying, what am I supposed to do next? Our solutions are all designed so that it's easy to use. On the mobile side of this, from the user standpoint, there's almost no training. You can pick up our programs and start using them right away. And then our support team. I'm sure there are some of our partners maybe that are on here today that can attest to this, even some customers. Our support team is second to none. They really know what they're doing. We're responsive to that, and we don't do any of the finger pointing that I've also seen in the market sometimes as far as, hey, it's not our program, it's this. Our guys are very good at solving the problems and being responsive. So let's get into what we're going to go through here today. So what is the pallet tracking and license plating solution that we offer here? Very generically, it allows you to group items together, and you link those together by an identification, which is a pallet or license plate ID. This gives you detailed visibility in your Sage 100 system. So there are things like warehouse codes, obviously, that group items together. Taking that one step further, you have bin locations, and this takes it even another step further where you can actually see what items are grouped together on a pallet, hence the name, or the license plate, or tied to the license plate, which is the actual identification tag on there. Examples of this, why you'd want to do this, would be things like tracking lot numbers, expiration dates, and serial numbers. So you might have a bunch of items that are all grouped together. It could be even in just a big box. But again, thinking about it on a pallet, might be the same item, but there might be 4 different lot numbers, for example, all across that. Well, when I want to move that or go pick that pallet, I don't want to have to indicate all of those different lot numbers, or even worse, serial numbers. There could be hundreds on a particular pallet. You scan one barcode or do one data entry as far as the pallet is concerned, and it moves all of those or picks all of those. This also ties into that, just capturing multiple components of data at a time. We're able to, with one simple data entry point, grab item information, like I mentioned, lot serial information, quantities, or if you happen to have multiple items that all come packaged together, you can go ahead and group that, and with one simple, again, identification, which is a license plate ID, you know all the items that are there. Bringing this onto the mobile programs of ScanForce, it's single scan technology. I'm scanning either items or I can scan pallet ID tags. It's just one simple scan gets me all of my data. So now, where is this solution used? So with our WMS offerings, you can use this during receiving. So you're going to do things like build pallets. You're going to identify what items and data are all tied together going to that license plate or pallet ID tag. When you go to move items, be it a put away function, so I brought the items in, now I want to go ahead and move them out to a bin location, you can go ahead and scan that pallet ID tag, and boom, it knows all the information related to that pallet. When you go to do an inventory count, you can scan, once again, that single pallet tag. It's going to tell you everything on that pallet as opposed to going through each item, each lot number, and again, worse than that, each serial number. A bigger one here is even on shipping, which is the picking process as well. So you can actually build pallets as you're going to stage items. So we have a sales order. We want to grab the items off the shelves out of their locations. And at that point, maybe nothing is palletized. It's only palletized now when I'm getting ready to go out the door here. So I can build these pallets, get my pallet ID tag on there. And then now when you go to actually ship those pallets and those orders out the door, boom, you're scanning one barcode and it knows all the data that you stacked on those pallets or when you built the pallets. In manufacturing, so I mentioned earlier, we do bill of materials and production management as far as our automation solutions. When you're going to build pallets, or you can build pallets at the time you're doing your production entry. So as I'm doing a bill of materials transaction, now I have finished products going into my inventory. I can put all those onto one pallet and boom, have that go over to my system, pulling out the components, putting in the finished products. Or on the flip side, we have some people in the food industry, for example, that might grab an entire pallet of an item. And there might be, again, multiple lot numbers on the pallet, but they can grab all of that, know the quantity they're grabbing, know all the lot numbers by simply scanning the pallet tag for those components. Same concept really with production management. You're just dealing with a different product, obviously. We're doing issuing of material to a work ticket. You can go grab entire pallets, like I just mentioned, same with bill of materials, and it's going to go ahead and do that material issue to the work ticket. And on the flip side, when you're doing completion transactions with production management, you can build your pallets there as well. The last thing that I wanted to bring up here, this will make a little more sense when I show you the demo, but there's also a separate menu for license plating on the mobile device where you can actually go and build a pallet or build a license plate. You can break one as well. So if you need to now separate all those items out. So I brought this in, but now due to inventory quantity needs and things of that sort, I need to break this down and now have each individual lot number, serial number, and just box, let's say, go into inventory. Can break that license plate and it just keeps everything then in that bin location. There's also the pallet transfer transfer that we can do, again, moving an entire pallet. And then there's an inquiry, so I can see what items are on a particular pallet if I want to, or based on location, I can see what pallets exist in my particular bins. So I mentioned we're going to get into where this solution solves problems, if you will. So one common theme that we see with people using this is they have multiple components of data that are all grouped together. So this could be different items all grouped together, or as I mentioned, you have the same item, but these multiple data points here: lot number, serial number, expiration dates. The other part of this links back to when you're staging orders. So if your business stages these orders and you want to build pallets, you can group those together and do that single scan, pick/ship that pallet that I mentioned earlier as well. The other side of this is unit of measure. And I don't mean setting up an actual unit of measure in your Sage system, but this could be treated that way. And we've had customers do that, where I might track my items by eaches back in my Sage system, or cases, doesn't matter. But then when I build these pallets, that gives me now an entire unit that I can go ahead and, again, transfer or use, whether it be it for manufacturing or shipping out the door. I can now do things by pallets. All right, let's talk for a minute here about how this solution is actually sold. So this is an add-on to our WMS Premium solution. It's just a $29.95, gets you all integrations that I mentioned. So if you have our, it's actually an add-on, I should say here, and our manufacturing solutions as well. It's just this one set charge that gets you for the receiving, for the shipping, for the transfers, counts. And if you have our manufacturing automation as well, this still ties into that. What are the requirements? So you need our WMS Premium, and the reason for that is that it requires the multi-bin solution that DSD and ScanForce created there. So there's the multi-bin basic that is free with your Sage 100 system, or there's the advanced version that is free with our premium installation. And the other requirements is the ScanForce labeling solution. Naturally, you would have to print off a label with these pallet ID tags, so you need our labeling software to get those to print off. Now, let's get into the actual exciting part of this, or hopefully exciting part for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my system here that I'm going to do for the demo. So this is my Sage system, obviously. What I just pulled up here is an emulation of what our mobile programs look like. If you haven't seen this, it's launched as an app on your device. We walk you through what are the best devices to use. It can be run on a PC like I'm doing now. Most often it's run on a mobile device with a built-in scanner. But what you do is you log in. We get into those details in some of our other webinars, or you can contact us obviously to get into further details on this. But you log in with a user that controls permissions and also allows us to track who did what. And I'm going to hit accept here, and here's our main menu. So we have inventory, transactions, all the way down through manufacturing, and that new license plating menu option here. I'm going to show you guys first the receiving process. I've always started at receiving. That's the first part for me where items come into your system, natural place to start. So let's do this, but do this now with pallet tracking. So I'm going to go into order processing. I have a PO in my system already. So I'm going to launch PO receiving. And also to kind of comment on this, I'm navigating with the mouse. When you're using ScanForce, the users are simply tapping on the screen with their fingers. So just bear with me when you see my mouse moving here. I'm going to tap PO receiving. First thing the program wants to know is, well, what purchase order am I receiving in? If I have a barcode to scan, I'm going to want to scan a barcode here. You can have a printed off purchase order with the barcodes on there, scan that. We have a lot of our customers that have success asking their vendors to barcode the PO number on their packing list on what they bring in. Either way, simply shoot a barcode. I'm going to go ahead and click my lookup, though. You'll see it connects up real time to my Sage system. I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and here's one I created earlier. So I'm going to select my purchase order by scrolling to the bottom and highlighting it. You have this search bar here that you can search by PO number or the vendor name too. So you can search for a purchase order if necessary. Now, when I hit accept, this is connecting up and instantly grabs that data from my Sage system and loads that onto my device. This is where that ability to be functioning when you're disconnected comes into play, making this truly mobile. So if I lose my connectivity at this point, I have all my data needed on the device for this particular PO, so I can get data lookups and data validations, again, even if I'm disconnected. Now, the location here is something that you could have default if you wanted to. I don't have that set, so you can scan a location if you want. I'm actually going to do the lookup, which shows me all my bins. I'm going to scroll down here. I have a receiving bin set. The concept behind this would be is I don't know where I might place these items out on my shelves at this point, so I'm just going to bring them into a receiving bin, and then I'm going to transfer or put them away then as a secondary transaction. Now, you'll see here this first prompt is license plate. So I need to now assign items to be a part of this particular license plate or pallet ID tag. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my plus button here. Grabs my next pallet ID, you'll notice here mine starts with Plex. That's actually part of the name of my quote unquote name of my device. We can control that, but it's just a prefix to the pallet ID tag here so we can keep track and not duplicate those. Now at this point, it wants to know what item am I going to assign to this. So if I scan an item number or key one in that's not on this PO, it's still going to validate that for me. I also have the ability to do a lookup, and it's going to show me the item that's on this purchase order. So in this scenario here, this would be for a company that's tracking lotted items. Again, pretend it's serial numbers, doesn't matter. I didn't want to show you guys serial numbers because if I had a large quantity of those, it would make me indicate a serial number for each one of those. I don't think you guys want to sit here and watch me do that 250 times. So we'll go with lotted items. So I'm going to select my lot item here. Again, you can scan this if it's already barcoded. It knows that I have 250 that I have to indicate here. So I go ahead and designate, yep, I received in all 250. Now, quantity can also be validated as well, but I'm going to go ahead and key in the 250. It now wants to know, all right, well, what lot number is this? So I could have a situation where these 250 of this lotted widget here are across multiple different lot numbers. Or it might just be one single lot. Let's just go ahead and say here that I'm going to scan my first lot number, say it's barcoded. And I'm going to go ahead and indicate that 150 went into that. Now, I don't have an expiration date. We do support that. I'm going to go on. It knows that I need to keep on indicating lot numbers until I've distributed my entire quantity here. Again, this is all tying it to this particular license plate here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my next lot. And I'm going to finish putting those 100 in there, pass that up. And now I'm done. Send my data back over. Now, I don't have a printer to show you guys, but a step that I didn't show you here would be the printing of that pallet ID tag. So if that's the case, then you're going to want to have a networked thermal printer. Obviously, this requires the ScanForce labeling solution I mentioned earlier, and you'll go ahead and now label your pallets. Now, I have my auto posting turned on as well. If you don't want to automatically post transactions, let's say you want to look at that receipt before you go ahead and post that, then we can do that. We'll put it into a batch. You can review that and then post when you're ready. If you want this to be real time, like I have mine set here, then it'll automatically post. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into inventory here, and I'm going to pull up that item now. And you'll see here's my quantity and transactions broken down by warehouse code. I'm going to double click, which gets me into the more detailed screens here, showing me my bin locations. And you'll see here, I have this particular item here. Oh, wait, this wasn't the right item, I don't think. Let me pull this back up. Well, this is what I wanted to show you guys here is that we have our bin locations, you have your lot serial broken down, and you also have, now you have pallets as well. I'm going to switch this back to bin. Oops. And here you can see you can break that down into different views where it doesn't necessarily show you the lot number, but if you want that detail, you can have the lot serial detail as well. You can also, I'll pick one randomly here. Let's go ahead and just double click on this one here. It'll actually show you more details now related to the actual pallet. So this is where you can peel down or peel back and dive into the additional detail of what details are related to this item based on not just bin, not just warehouse, but down to the pallet ID. So let's go back onto the mobile device here. Now that we've received this in, I'm going to back out and go into our license plating menu. So I'm not going to go through each one of these here today due to the amount of time we have, but this is where you could just build a license plate. So we built one at receiving, but if you do need to start grouping items together, there's the ability to do that right from the mobile device. If you come across a situation where I mentioned this during the PowerPoint part of this, where you need to break items out of a pallet, it no longer exists, you're just going to dismantle that. You can break the license plate, and all those items and quantities and lot numbers will now go into the bin location that that pallet resided in. The other part here is transferring a license plate. So if we're going to transfer a license plate, it's going to want to know what warehouse I'm working in. Now it's going to want the license plate number. So I can go ahead and scan this, or I could even do a lookup here, scroll all the way down to the bottom. Here's the one that I just had. And where am I taking it to? This is where I could now place this out of receiving, and I'm going to go ahead and move this over to, let's say, a primary bin location. And boom, it's done. It now moves that particular pallet in its entirety from that, again, receiving to its actual bin location. And again, just want to drive home the point here, without something like this then, and you did track lot numbers or serial numbers, again, even more so, you would have to indicate the item, the quantity, and then go through in a serialized inventory, each serial number. With this, you're scanning one barcode. Same thing with lot numbers. Wanted to mention here, I touched on this earlier, I want to show you guys this license plate inquiry. I can look by the actual license plate itself. So what warehouse am I working in? What license plate? Now I could scan this. So I could go ahead and simply just scan my barcode for my pallet ID. Oh, wants to know. Okay, so I want to look up this particular pallet. Actually, let's just back out. Get rid of that. And let's just pull up 18 here, for example. So what it's going to do is it's going to actually pull this up for me. And that's why when I pulled up in my Sage system a minute ago, I pulled up my 8953 number. The one we had received in actually was that 2901. So this is showing me, though, for this particular license plate that I'm doing an inquiry on, this is the item, this is my quantity, and I know the location that this resides at. All right. Now, on the flip side of this, we did the receiving side. Let's go ahead now and look at when we're going on the outbound side of things. So I'm going to go back into order processing here, and I'm going to do my sales order picking. So you could pick an entire pallet and just do the sales order shipping, which is the one step. I'm grabbing items, boom, they're going out the door. Or if you're going to stage items, like I'm going to show you here, I have a sales order in my system. I'm using the DSD ScanForce multi-bin ability to pre-allocate locations. That allows me to be directed to where I'm going to go get these items from. So let's go ahead and grab the order that I already have in here and scroll to the bottom. Just like I mentioned on receiving, scanning a barcode is the easiest. So if you print off a barcode, a pick sheet, that's great. Or you can go ahead and do a lookup here. I have a ton of orders in here just from demo circumstances. Ordinarily, you would only see the orders that are available there for you to go ahead and pick. So I'm going to select my order, connects up. Now, I have mine defaulted. I mentioned you can do that on the receiving side as well. I have a generic bin called staging set up. So I'm going to pick this to my staging location. Now, at this point here, I have my item. I have 150 of these. I need to go pick these, and I'm going to go ahead and pick them to a pallet or license plate. So here's my license plate now. And now I need to indicate my items. Now, I can do this by scanning the items. It'll validate that. I can also select from my lookup here. And what it's going to do is it's going to look back to see, okay, well, what's the location? Well, based on my pre-allocations, I allocated this particular lot number, March 10, and the bin location is C230. So I need to go there. Now I would scan my bin, or I could simply tap on it, accept my bin. How many am I grabbing? 150. What is my lot number? And again, this is something that you can go ahead and scan as well, but we're building our pallet. So you can see the amount of data you need to capture, and it's necessary. I need to make sure it's the right item, make sure it's the right quantities, make sure it's the actual lot number. Confirm my quantity, and now I'm done. So now this order has been staged. I'm going to send my data over. I didn't forget anything, so it's not alerting me to that. Boom, it's back over there. Now, I need to get this order out the door. So I'm going to go into pallet shipping. I'm going to look up my order. Again, we're going to go to the bottom here, grab this. And I'm going to indicate my warehouse. And you'll see, here is that pallet that we just created. So now I can select from here, or we can disable that. The easiest thing to do is, and especially if you have multiple pallets, is I'm going to go ahead and simply scan my pallet. Boom, it's done. Scan additional pallets, send this back over. And now I don't have to, on that secondary step, indicate all of that additional detail that I had to originally. It knows the item, it knows the quantity, and it knows the lot numbers or lot number or lot numbers. Just to show you guys what happened there, that sends it back over, creates the shipping data entry transaction. Instantly back in my Sage system. So see, here's the item, and here's the detail. All right, so I am going to now, here, I'm going to switch back over and open this up for questions if anyone has any. Darcy, I don't know if you've been paying attention to that. I sure have not. So if anybody has, okay.
There's nothing yet.
All right, then either I covered it so well no one has any questions, or I did my job of confusing people so badly that nobody has any questions to ask. I will encourage you guys, though. I'm going to go ahead and actually skip to this next slide here that has our contact information. If you're a partner, reach out to the ScanForce rep that you work with. We can get into more details on this, show you a more in-depth demo. If you're an end user, contact your partner. They can obviously get in touch with us and set up a more detailed evaluation of whether or not this is a good fit for you guys. Promised I'd be done prior to the 30 minutes. If there aren't any other questions,
there is
wrap
one.
This up.
We do have, we got two now. All right. On SO pallet shipping, can you direct which batch in shipping data entry the pallets are tied into?
Yes, we do have the ability to prompt and ask for. I'm glad somebody asked that. That's a feature of our software where you can go ahead and indicate an existing batch, so it has to already exist, but we can prompt the user for what batch you want to import into. We've done custom setups also where if you have a batch per user, for example, we can tie that back to that user login. So there's quite a bit that we can do with that. So long-winded answer of a yes.
Okay, how do you remove an item from a pallet?
You would break that pallet. So then that becomes something where you go ahead and take those items. Now they're available there, and you'd want to then rebuild that. You also, in future releases coming out, you will be able to identify a pallet, and it would basically be a transfer, what would remove a single item or single lot from there. So then you would have the pallet ID tag would remain whole. All the remaining items on there would also remain.
The manufacturing completion to pallets, is this available?
Yes.
Okay, and one person said they have someone with special requirements and asked to do an offline call, and absolutely for anyone who wants to discuss any individual scenarios. That is all the questions.
All right, and I was going to mention, I'll say it now, guys, that if there's anybody from your organization that wasn't able to attend, the recording of this webinar will be available and will be sent out to you. So if there's anybody in particular that you want to make sure that we send this out to, also let us know. But this will be available as a recording too.
We had one more question, actually. Do you have a training library?
We do, and there will be a video for pallet tracking up there in the very near future. I believe, Darcy, you can help me answer this one. I believe this recording will be there initially, but there is a training library of videos that is available on our website.
Yes, this will be on the videos page on our website. Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to listen to me and watch this. Contact us if you have any other questions. Thanks, everybody.